All right, so it's quite a fast. I thought there's more people were coming up saying something about, oh, welcome everyone today. So, hello, this is Elly Chen. I'm from DPC team from Makalot, and I'm the host of this panel. So, first of all, welcome everyone is coming all long way here. And I do believe that everyone is not just coming from all different locations, but also coming from all diverse industry. So from software to hardware to fashion to technology, and from government to academia. So for this panel, I got a really challenging but a necessary, essential goal is that I want to make sure that everyone brings some of the valuable insights back. So that's why we want to start a little bit in advance is that I want to explain a term before we start all the conversations. Do you know what is DPC when I'm saying from DPC team? DPC is a term that's going to show up later on during the whole discussions. DPC is digital product creation. That was originally coming from the manufacturing developing process. It was saying that we're using a computer to sew a virtual garment instead of making the garment by sewing machine. So it comes out as a one-by-one proportion virtual sample so that you can, for designer decision making, to eliminate the physical sample making. So you're probably saying, all right, it sounds fantastic because you can shorten the lead time. So you don't need to do a lot of simple, probably some yardage dyeing, trimming, shipping stuff. That definitely reduce the cost of it. And that's such an amazing technique. It should be applied to the whole fashion industry. How come it's still not there yet? And that's why we are here today, because we're facing some of the challenges and boundaries, and definitely for the following years, we'll definitely have some of the solution coming out. And here's our solution providers. So let's introduce our gentlemen coming on the stage, and we'll give you a speech later. Give a pause. So just really would like to mention that please scan the QR code because probably later on you have no time to raise your hand and give in the questions, all right? Okay. So, yeah, because I'm so nervous right now. So Leslie, just give me a wink right there. Let's just have Leslie, introduce yourself firstly.
So my name is Leslie Holden. I'm a co-founder at the Digital Fashion Group. And the Digital Fashion Group is a consultancy and an education. And we started in 2020 when we had the realization that there were not enough fashion designers actually being educated in digital, and that digital was a very important, pragmatic tool to ensure a more sustainable industry going forward. So that's the Digital Fashion Group.
So Edison.
Okay, sure. My name is Edison Hungyi Chen, and I'm the founder of Meta Intelligence. So we provide all-in-one solution for generative AI, and we like to work with interdisciplinary area. So that's why around 6-7 months ago, we had pleasure to work with Makalot to explore how could we apply the generative AI to the fashion industry. So before I start my entrepreneurship, I was the program director of MBA program at Zhejiang University in China. And before that, I was also working at the University of Cambridge. So today, I think it's really like a good combination how we can discuss this interesting topic. So thank you very much for having this opportunity.
So Jack.
Hi, I'm Jack. I'm the CEO and co-founder from TG3D Studio. So we founded this company since 2015. We focus a lot on helping fashion, apparel, and also textile industry to move forward to the digital fashion design area. So I have done this for 9 years already. Okay. Time flies. And so our major product will include body scanning devices, fabric scanners, and also the fashion design tools. Yeah, so that's why we I'm a true believer for the sustainable fashion. So, and I'm glad that we have opportunity. Finally, we have this kind of opportunity to talking about what is DPC and what is sustainable fashion, because back to 9 years ago, nobody, even my parents didn't understand what I'm doing. Yeah, so I'm so proud of today.
Wow, that's really good. So here again, I'm Elly. So if I'm the host, I'm a speaker as well. So let me introduce myself a little bit. That I'm from DPC team, again, digital product creations. And then, as you know, the Makalot is really working, producing the garments for some of the really big wholesalers and retailers. So we honestly starting with the 3D and DPC process with all these customers since 2006, which means that we've been using 3D for over 15 years. And we have a lot of experience in working and piloting and kind of communicating with the brand side and telling them what's the most suitable flows for this manufacturing and developing. And the other thing is that I'm also lecturing in Hsieh University, teaching the 3D softwares, and as well as that we're giving the speeches in PI innovation meetings, talking about the true DPC, the truth of the DPC in manufacturing industry, because what we know about from brand side is quite different from the literally practically ways in manufacturing industry. So that's quite interesting that we can just get together to talk about this questions. So let me just start with this panel discussion, because the reason why we'll have everyone introduce myself is that later on when we do the networking, you will know who to find, right? And the very first thing is, as I mentioned, challenging stop us from just getting into the DPC process. And let me start from manufacturing side, what really stopped us from doing that? I think very first one is digitalization. As you can see, everyone, like right now in the manufacturing industry, a lot of things are still like recording by paper, handwriting, like text, hand drawing, like for the cat, it's still drawing by Illustrator instead of like creating by AI. So what can we do to do the digitalization? There must be some of the investment and understanding of the technology. This is the one very first boundary for getting into the DPC. And secondly, all right, I'll get the investments into digitalization. How about automations? Are you going to use manpower to key in all the detail, every detail to digitalize everything? Or is there any way that we can utilize the system to automate, to do all the little things? So who is going to do that? The fashion designers or the merchandisers? Or we have reliable partners to do with it? And then some of the things is that the mindset. I think that's the most challenging part, is that how those decision makers understand the necessity to do this digitalization and automations. They need to understand what can help, right? This is one of the things that, how can we let those decision makers know this is kind of a necessary thing? So Leslie, how do you think, how can we do that for doing that part?
The digitalization.
Now, how to do the mindset, is there any new ideas coming in that way?
Well, I think that talent is very important. And I think that the industry has had difficulty the fashion industry has difficulty in transforming into digital tools. And that could be the reason that the industry is so large and the supply chain is so huge and splintered. But there's also a kind of area of thought that thinks that perhaps it's because education is not educating designers in the right way for industry. So industry needs young designers coming into it, talented designers who have an understanding of what's needed in the industry, not just today, but in 10 years' time, and how DPC will be working in the industry. And so I think that that is definitely an important part of what's needed.
Yeah. So is there anything else? on that? Yeah, you know what, we set up this already, that we will bring out like each three about the challenges for this industry. So Leslie.
Yeah, I think that another challenge would be the interoperability. And I think it's important to think about interoperability in another way. So not just in the way that we think about software as being interoperable, but I think it's important to consider interoperable as people being interoperable, that people will be interoperable with different kinds of software and different kinds of businesses. So again, it comes down to the education, how education is actually being delivered to the students to think about the way that the kind of talents that they need to work on which softwares. I also think that it's very important for the correct kind of communication between higher education and industry, and that higher education understands the language that industry needs to be communicating in, and that they are clear about how what's actually needed, and that the education is actually listening to the industry. Overall, actually, I think that perhaps what we need is a new form of education for a new kind of designer. Because higher education, fashion higher education at the moment is very much about the physical. And of course, some educations are adding CLO and other 3D virtual prototyping in there, but actually nowadays, 4 weeks of CLO in the third year of a 4-year degree is really not enough. So there needs to be possibly another pathway or another kind of education for the designer for the future, which isn't there at the moment.
So Leslie basically talking about the education is quite important, and the communication as well. So the education of the communication between the school and the industry right now is a big challenge. But there's another challenge that honestly is that the communication between fashion industry and technology, right? So Jack, how do you think this is where the boundaries are?
Yeah, I think if we imagine that before we got email systems, we still use handwriting email. So suddenly everyone started to use email, and then at the first time you need to think about how to set up the server, how to connect to the internet and send out the email. And you don't understand what is the email address meaning, right? So I think the digital fashion is right now is at this moment. When we talk to the apparel or like textile industry, talking about, right, this is digitizing tools for you to convert your design libraries into digital space. And for your designer, you can easily communicate with your brands or your customers remotely or do the digital prototyping. I think this is still too far for them. And most of the, especially for textile and apparel industry, because most of people in this industry, they haven't that familiar with all the new technology stuff, right? So the complexity is the most challenging part when we like when we talk to this industry about how to migrate your business or your designer into this kind of working process. So what we really want to do is we simplify all kinds of solutions, and we try to think from their mindset. If this is their traditional working process, how we how we integrate with their existing process instead of ask them to separate another digital creation process. But this is still a challenge because the technology is so different at this moment. So yeah, so I think this is the first challenges I think. And the second one is I think they also feel about the investment is not fair enough, or I don't know how to, but it actually takes some other resources or budgets to facing this kind of process. So we are thinking about how to scale or like maximize the value of digital assets. Then we talk about this, and we talk about the digital spaces like game or like metaverse, whether your digital creation assets could be also not only for the prototyping or demonstrations, but also you are able to transmit this kind of contents into this digital space. And there are a lot of new young talent or audience like Gen Z. They basically don't use our current social media. They just live in the game. And how you talk to them, how you communicate with them. So you probably can see a lot of big brands, they start to open retail store in this kind of digital world. But again, it causes another challenges for these brands or this industry. They don't know how to convert these kind of assets from direct cloud 3D to metaverse to the Roblox. So yeah, we just try to, from our perspective, we try to fix this, how they can easily convert everything seamlessly into this kind of multiverse and adapt into the new world in the future. Yeah.
So, like, because Jack has been in this industry, in between the industry from fashion and the technologies for over 9 years, and we have a newcomers like Edison coming to this like a fashion industry. How about you thinking about just working with us like 6 months ago on this like project? How do you feel that AI can help the fashion industry? Is there any challenging you witness right now?
Sure, certainly. So I think what AI poses the challenge to the fashion industry, the first one is really about time to market. So when we think about the time to market, it's always very important when we talk about the business. But it's particularly more important in AI generative world. So think about if your competitor, they spend less people, they spend less time to deliver a product from 0 to 100 within a month. But for your team, it takes around 3 months to deliver a product. And that means your investment during the last 3 months is just much more like a wasting, because your product, your competitor already delivers something the same within the most efficient technology. So a few weeks ago, when we also talked with another interdisciplinary industry, the law firm. So the law firm is also an industry they are highly interested in generative AI. So they wanted to explore how generative AI can help their client to file a suit on the code. And if that means you can have the generative AI, and then that means it's equal to people hiring 3-5 lawyer to doing something the same. It means that in the market you pay more, but you profit is less than your competitor. So I think that's also coming to the same in the fashion industry. So maybe for most people, you think about generative AI is something maybe very far, and it's like on the sky, and it's very far from our daily life. But think about how smartphone change our daily life, or how e-commerce changed our daily life in the last 15 years. And I think that's something maybe for every single participant in this fashion industry should consider about. So 6-7 months ago, for Elly and their team, we have this kind of brainstorm to think about how generative AI can really help the fashion industry. And we take the first step is that whenever they come up with the new clothing design, and we try to leverage generative AI to transform it to the final photo within with the fantastic model and the background with like the client's preference within 9 seconds. And previously, maybe it takes around a month to complete all the process. And that's something I think in generative AI world we should consider about. And that's something about time to the market. And the second one is about the cost. And the third one is personalization. So I think maybe later I can elaborate further. So I would like to pause here.
Sure. So like, as everyone can see that we actually is having our pinpoints is listed up there. So the next step is that we're going to talk about, we bring out those challenges and pinpoints, but we need to give it a solution and an answer. So everyone down here that you can say, all right, that's what I can just refer to, isn't it? So the very first things that I'm just kind of taking my notes is that investment. Like, I know everyone here is talking about doing the business, and then what we need to do, what we need to invest, how much we to invest to make it work, and how can we make our investments the efficient way to get it done. So I think who's going to take this question right this moment? Jack nodding. Oh, Leslie? Yeah, sure,
well, that kind of leads on from what I was saying earlier, investment into a different form of education, a different kind of college that educates, a different kind of designer, but also an investment in time to take time to think about it in different ways. In the Digital Fashion Group, both myself and my fellow co-founder, Sean, we were designers for many years, and we were both in higher education, in senior positions in higher education. So we're coming from the point of knowing what it's like in higher education. And I was head of department for a college in Amsterdam for a long time. So I worked very much on that whole curriculum area. And we also started a 3D virtual prototyping course back in 2006. So it's been in my life for a long time, and I know how important it is to actually give academics time to think about how they should approach this. And in many ways, academia is firefighting at the moment, dealing with lots of other problems, and they don't really have the time to change the curriculum effectively, because it does actually take 3 years to do that. So it's a long process. And what we do at the Digital Fashion Group is we actually work closely with universities. We go in there, we do train-the-trainer programs, we help them think of what their manifesto of intention should be for going forward and pivoting their curriculum more towards digital, what the learning objectives are, what the learning outcomes are, what the body of knowledge and skills should be. And I think that's the kind of investment that's really needed, of course, with the Digital Fashion Group, but with someone else maybe. But there's nobody else, but
yeah,
that kind of.
Yeah, that is the investment for future, right? Because we need to invest in advances so future we can have that advance. So how about Jack? How do you think that what we need to invest for that? For standardized information, digitalized information, or is there any way that we can kind of set up for automation so that that investment can obviously and just immediately that those decision makers can see what the investments come out?
This is a tough question for me.
Yeah, that's what we need to hear, yeah.
I would say just like, as John is here, I think this is just like the exercise, right? You cannot just say, all right, I'm going to become a very strong man, then I can just turn it immediately, right? So we need to invest, and we need to think about what makes sense for our daily life, and how many workouts I should invest every day, and what kind of, just something like that. And for me, it's pretty easy for the industry, like, they don't need to think too much about the, how to say that? For me, right now, the way I talk to like a lot of textile industry saying that, all right, you don't need to think too much about the digital creation process, but at least you can start to build your own digital assets libraries, right? Because it's good for you to, like, you can quickly search all kinds of material immediately. You can import your images and then find the similar one from your database. If you haven't started to do this, everything won't change. At least you need to start to optimize your current process by building up the digital assets libraries, right? And then as time goes by, just like big data, we talk a lot of, I think, in the previous hype is everyone talk about big data before AI, before these kind of things. Everyone talk about big data, but no one really know what is big data. So, but they know how to accumulate this kind of data, and someday they will realize, all right, this is something I can utilize. So that's why a lot of MarTech company comes up, because they know how to utilize this kind of data, and they know how to monetize from this data. I think this is a similar concept. So I will say, for the digital product creation process, you cannot see the immediate results right now. But as long as you start to build the assets, you will see how it improves your working process gradually. And then, again, like AI is evolving so fast. I think at that time, you will see everything change immediately. So you need to get prepared. You need to prepare by yourself to face that moment, right?
Yeah, totally. I think actually I set up a little bit. A little bit.
This is not even rehearsal.
Yeah. This is quite hard because I think Jack just answered a lot of the game changers was asking, can I see the digital fashion come out, and what can I see? Can I save right away? Can I save the time? Can I save the money right away? No, not really. This is really important to remember, is that to take the step at first, and then you will get into the benefit later on. But if you never take that step, you say, all right, it takes time to do the system. It takes time to have people to digitalize everything, and the day will never come. And when the day comes that everyone get into like AI or the digital fashion world, you'll be just left behind far. So take the first step. That's the investment we need to do ahead before you actually can see any saving from them. But also, there is talking about that there's a communication gap deeply. When we're talking about this, some of for me, like I'm from manufacturing, some of the really experienced technicians, they probably was like, no, I don't think so. Like I can do as what I'm doing right now, still making the money, still making the patterns, still providing the data you want. Why I need to do in a new way, right? So how can we changing the mindset, or how can we providing a new way, let them to understand that this definitely help you? Is there some of the answer that you like to bring out? No? Okay, so let me just extend it a little bit more that probably will give them answer, because that is actually one of the questions we keep on talking about, is that are we going to change the user behavior and ask them to fit in the digital fashion process, or we actually can use some of the method that we can, for example, asking AI for help as a system. Honestly, a lot of people thinking that once we get into the digital fashion world or we get into the AI world, then I will lose my job because the digital computers or AI is going to take my job. But honestly, it's not. It's a really good tool to help you expedite your work. So, yeah.
Yeah, I've got a good case study example for that. And we discussed this the other day. Yeah. In the Digital Fashion Group, last year we did a huge project for Bloomsbury Publishers, which are the biggest academic English publishers. And we did a series of 20 masterclasses with 20 case studies, academic case studies. And one of the companies that we spoke to was Hurutech in Paris. And the designer from Hurutech, she was a traditionally trained designer, Julie. She went to IFM, one of the best schools in the world. And when she was first offered the job, because it's all about AI and Tech, all about AI predictions, she was terrified because she thought, this is just so wrong. AI is going to kill my profession. It's going to be the death of designers. And very quickly she realized that actually AI was going to make the designer's role even stronger. And through this conversation that we had with her, we established a kind of philosophy for the digital design group that in the future the creative should be center stage in the data dialogue, very close to the consumer in an ongoing conversation about collaboration and what the consumer needs, and very close to the manufacturer in an on-demand structure of manufacturing. Because if the designer has the power of the data, they know what the customer wants. So it takes away all this kind of insecurity in a way when the merchandiser or the buyer comes and looks at the designs and goes, no, yellow sold good last year, we're not going to, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that like that? And the designer has the power of the data then to say, this is why I made this decision. So Julie helped us realize that actually in the future, the creative will have a much stronger position in the whole supply chain because they'll have more power.
Yeah. So when we're talking about no matter we're talking digital fashion, there was something called DPC, something we call is 3D. So when people want to take the new approach to the new thing, so I think Edison is doing the solutions. How can you kind of convince them to use AI, or how do you kind of telling them that AI is a need or the digital thing is a need for them?
Sure, certainly. So for this question, I think I also wanted to echo what Leslie just mentioned. I think it's very important about the mindset of clients. So I mean, this is like much more like the investment of new paradigm. So when I say new paradigm, is meaning that include education, because I can see many university students also coming today. So one thing is that it's not only to convince like the client, but it's about the whole industry. So how education, training our students, because I think nowadays people feel so frustrated after they graduate from their degree, because they find they couldn't apply what they learned at the university, and that's the problem. So I think when we wanted to push this industry to convince our client, it's not just like the single effort made by our startup, but it's something I think for the government, for the whole society, they can do some transformation in this regard. So it's not only just about the education, but also how people manage their business. So think about before COVID-19, most people, they couldn't accept remote working, at least in Taiwan. But let's see what happened after COVID in the States. I think more than 50% of a job, they work remotely. So I think how do we embrace this new AI generative world is not just about the technology, but how do you manage, how do you educate, how do you sell your product in this new paradigm?
Yeah, so like just have a little conclusion on that is that digital can be from end to end. So echo to Jack, the first thing is that we set up the library. Everything, of course, digitalized. And then once we have those libraries built up, and those data can be used for everything. I think digital information is the most important base for AI. If you've got everything physically, how can you just utilize the AI to work it on? And then during the developing process, obviously, probably some of you already know that when making a garment, at least it's a 5 die to make a physical samples. But in 3D, in DPC, we'll make it in 2 dies. And then everything will come out before fabric was dyed, the button was dyed, fabric was shaped. And this sample can come to customer right away in previously. So which means that you can order this sample, order this style, previous pre-ordering. And what it comes out is that we can precisely give in the order. So there's no more stock in your, in your storage room. So you can sell them better and make sure that everything, that the color you decide, the styling you choose is exactly what they want. So that's what digital fashion can achieve during, in between the developing process. But also, we can use it for merchandising. For example, right now we are using it for gaming, right? We can sell directly with the digital asset. This is not just something that turning around and see all the assets, but we can just implement it to all different areas. So probably, Jack, coming back is that what the digital asset can be done just besides doing the developing.
But I still have something I want to elaborate from the previous conversation.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So I think AI is just a tool, just like search engine. When Google come up with the search engine part, everyone knows there's a search engine very powerful there, but some people, they just know how to utilize this search engine to accumulate data they need, and then come up with very good proposals or like a lot of travel plan, right? And I think AI is similar thing. They just get more powerful. They understand, they can learn very fast, and then we provide them right information, then they can start to learn and give you better proposals, right? So for me, AI is just like the tools. We just need to think about what AI tools can help me in my daily life, right? And then our goal is to give them the right informations, and then Chen then become one of our good assistant, something like that. I think for me, humanity is more creative. We know how to, as time goes by, we know how to involve even better than AI, because we have a lot of creativities. We have our visions, we have our dreams. And then if we don't input them right information, AI never learned this new area. I think that's we got to trust ourselves. We are human, right? And then we know how to make a new dream. Yeah. So this is, I think I just want to elaborate. We don't need to terrify from the AI progress. And then go back to the next question regarding to digital assets. So I already mentioned about, we are thinking about, like what Edison did, they convert the digital garment into the marketing materials, into more realistic photos, and then you can kind of reduce the waste of taking a lot of marketing photos, something like that. I think that is all the utilities, or like all the usage you can generate from the digital assets, right? So our goal for me is to, so I saw a lot of, we collaborate with a lot of different games or metaverse. They also looking for whether we can utilize this kind of virtual world to test the water. Like you have new designs, you want to see whether Gen Z or like your target audience like this or not. And then you can publish to that space and do some marketing event there virtually. You don't need to spend too much resources. And then if it really works, you can have like a pre-order campaign there. Then we can realize the on-demand process afterwards. So that is also a lot of brands start to do this. And the other thing is when we talk about the as long as we come out with all the designs, we can actually leverage AI to modify the designs by prompt, by input different messages, and then change the design immediately. And then that's also help for like Makalot. You can easily communicate with the brands because I know maybe when you propose one design, they will give you 10 different ideas and then you need to modify it afterwards. I think we can also utilize this kind of digital assets, build up the old database, and then utilize the AI technology to quickly respond the business request or different demands, and then again, just make the whole process more efficiently. Yeah.
And actually, there's one more thing is about how can we, when Leslie echoed back to, Leslie was talking about the interoperability. It's not just that students or whoever that employees, right now we are kind of, I know like the people right now need to learn much more than before. It's because the computers, AIs, and all the digitalization things, not just physical, but also virtual. So we not need to be in between the industries, but also in between the softwares. So right now there's a lot of like software companies, they kind of have the biggest market shares. So they probably just give the right saying that, all right, I need the file in this kind of format, that is software size. And what can we do? Like if we have those data, then they all belongs to different softwares, and they're not talking to each other. We cannot convert those database. What can we do with that to have a new solutions? It's probably AI, right? Yeah, I think Jack got some idea for that.
This is also a tough question. But I think the goal is we need to set up the standard first. Yeah, so that's why we work so hard with Taiwan Textile Institute to set the guideline or the standards. So we talk to AATCC, talk to ISO. We need to standardize a lot of things, because if we want to train AI, then we need to define the rules and ask AI to follow these rules and then connect to the industries instead of creating new terms from the technology world. Like a lot of different 3D rendering environments, and they all have their own specs, but those are not belongs to the textile or apparel industries. So I think this is also the current chaos recently. So at this moment, everyone talk about their own specifications, and then then everyone train their own AI, and then for the students or academic or like the industries, they don't know how to follow they don't know which standard they need to follow, right? So I think this is also, I think a lot of AI-related regulations or something they're talking about how to set up laws, regulations, or even for me, this is like how to set up the specifications for AI to follow up. I think that's also the higher level thing we need to deal with. Yeah.
So like the same as what we are doing today is that we were talking in between the industry, what's the boundary, what's the solutions in between us, and then we'll bring this kind of the insight into some of the study institute that will solve it. And then for some of the best practice, we can bring it back to school, to university, and to educate not just only students, but our experience can be kind of like, not saying guideline, but just can be a reference for those companies or brand size or actually individual designers. They can just kind of get idea from how can they utilize like digital fashion to speed up their process, but not restricted within using it. So that's why we are here and would like to bring into everyone on that idea. So is there anything that regarding to this challenges you still want to just point out again on that, or is this about this?
I wanted to add what Elly just mentioned. So nowadays, people learn more, and I think we not just learn more, but we also work more than before. But the thing is that do we earn more than before? That's the problem. So I'm just thinking that that we are talking about how digital transformation can help the fashion industry. And speaking about like the issue that you and Jack just discussed about the data, how do we collect the data? I think maybe I can share one like the example what Japan recently they are doing right now. Because we know that when we wanted to train AI model, we need a lot of different kind of data. So how ChatGPT they train their AI model? They are training by a lot of newspapers, articles, and they are training from the YouTube video, from video to text, and then to analyze. And it's also the ethical issue, because essentially that's not the asset belong to the AI company. That's somebody's contribution. But in Japan, because they wanted to promote their AI, they wanted to promote this kind of machine learning, they don't want it to lose this new industry anymore. So they have the regulation to better protect those AI startups. Because those big data obviously is not owned by those AI startups. And for those data, who owns the data is the big company, while they don't have the AI talent. And that's a problem. So in Japanese government, they try to introduce like the mechanism, they allow the AI startup, if you wanted to do for the AI purpose, for machine learning, and that is something allowed, you can use somebody's copyright as like the training data. So I think that's something very important, because think about when we introduced copyright back to 700 or 800 years ago. I think probably the first one is in the UK. And when people introduced that system, is wanted to promote the economy. So when we wanted to protect somebody's copyright, do we still need to encourage AI? So maybe that's something we can balance and to encourage.
Yeah, totally. Well, even we're talking about AI, digital fashion as well. Like we got the design right there. So how about the IPs? This copyright is one of the challenges right now as well. It's probably you just copy the image and say this is my design. That might happen. So the balance is how to deal with it.
This is actually a very interesting question. We didn't rehearse all this, but it's pretty interesting that not only the digital fashions, but actually the blockchain world is trying to fix this problem as well. I think that's really, so a lot of people talk about Web3 and AI, they will merge together in the future, because we are talking about the data usage or like the ownership, but the AI world do need data to make it better and better, right? But how do you keep the ownership of that? Like I can authorize you to use my data. I think that's very interesting questions, and I think the blockchains from the blockchain industry, they're also fixing this. Yeah, so I think in the future this could be solved. At least from my understanding, I know there are some solutions is happening right now. You can still keep your ownership, but you can authorize a lot of data scientists or like AI developer. They can utilize your data to do this. So I think eventually this could be solved, I think, yeah.
Yeah, sure. That's interesting. I just would like to ask the audience, did you guys no questions or no like want to know?
Hello. Thanks a lot for the insights, very interesting. You mentioned a lot about AI and about the design of in the fashion sector. Can you speak a little bit about how AI could be used for sustainability, and if it's something real in the fashion sector at the moment?
All right, I can start with these questions. I think for the digital fashion, I think we tried, for the sustainable topic, we separate this into two areas. The first one is the existing problem that fashion brands or the T2 textile industry they are facing right now. They need to reduce the sample cost and also reduce the shipping cost, because in the traditional working flow, they need to prepare a lot of samples and then make different kind of color schemes or different materials and ship together to the brands for reviewing. And then after the process, they need to do it again if the review doesn't, yeah. So I think the first one for digital fashion and AI is to minimize the cost of this, like minimize the sample cost, minimize the material waste. They could use 3D tools, these design tools, to make realistic digital sample for reviewing. And then after like 60 or 80% confirmations, they can start from there. They didn't need to prepare a lot of real samples. So I think that is the first issue we're trying to fix for the sustainability issues. And the second part for me, and Elly just actually mentioned, is when we talk about if we build the infrastructures or the whole digitalization process smoothly, in the end we can change the whole apparel industries. Because right now, if you are going to sell apparel in the retail space, you need to prepare a lot of stocks, right? And then that is actually the waste. I know a lot of sustainable fashion brands, they're talking about they use a recycled fabric, they use very eco-friendly manufacturing process. I think that's one direction. And the other direction from digital fashion is actually whether we can build the infrastructure very well, and then when the end consumers, they place orders, then we transmit all the data back to the manufacturer and start to produce it. I think I used to use the example about the Netflix, right? Because before Netflix coming out, everyone goes to Blockbuster to rent the DVD, and they don't believe the streaming service could support the high definition streams at that moment. I think that's something I face right now, but I personally believe that as long as we build the infrastructure smoothly and with the AI technologies, we can actually make this happen in the future. And at this moment, there's no stock exist, right? You just on-demand place order, and then you place order online, then it's shipped to your home maybe within 3 days. It's just like the same user experience as shopping online, right? So I think for me, that's my angle from the sustainable apparel.
Yeah, thank you. I think we'll have another panel for sustainable later on. So thanks for the gentlemen. This is all about this panel. Thank you.